In this section, you'll add seams to the mesh of the character along here. You'll add some detail into the head. You'll deal with the UV islands that you create. You'll paint directly on the figure as well as use an external editor to do some of the painting, and we'll tweak the figure a little bit more. By the end of the section, you'll have this guy. Alright, we could keep on tweaking, and I know I'd like to, but let's do a UV map. A UV map, if you were to imagine this to be like made of paper and you had to cut it apart and lay it flat, what cuts would you make? And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to tell Blender where to make the cuts when we unwrap by marking seams. Just like you have seams in your clothing. So let's select a loop. I'm going to Alt-Shift right-click to add to the selection. And then I'm going to hit C, go to wireframe, hit C, and use Alt left click to deselect some of these. Hit escape when you're done. And that's pretty good. So before we accidentally click, let's mark the seams. Control E, mark seam. Now when we deselect, you can see that there's a red seam around there. Let's see, that's pretty good. Seam in here. Let's do Control E on that. And then hit T for our tool shelf. Come down here, Edge Select Mode, let's say Tag Seam. Switch to edges. And what that gives us to do is when we select this, and then Control click on the next one, it connects them, which is handy. And speaking of hands, we should do the hands. So let's just right-click normally on there, and then Control right-click. And it didn't quite make the path I was hoping for, so I'm going to do undo. And I'll try it over here. Nope. So I'll just Control click along. That's going to take too long. Let's Alt right click, period, 1, Z, C, then Alt left click, escape, Control E, mark seam. There we go. Now the head. That's a good question how we should do this. Well, let's select around there. Control E, mark seam, and then select and Control click, then Control click. Let's see. Maybe another in the back here. I'll have to take a look at it. Let's go ahead and do Shift Space so we get our other windows back. Then up here, left click and drag to the left to create another window. Let's make it a UV image editor window. Let's add a new image. Let's make it a UV grid. We can make it 32-bit. Click OK. Nice square image, which it should be. It will have better performance if it's a, power of 2, a friendly computer number. We'll say this is the costume. Then let's select all here. Let's go back and set that. Unwrap. And you'll see that, well, let's see if you can see. Type N to bring our properties back. Scroll down here and say, let's set smooth lines, make them black. It's like, well, what's going on here? Well, we have half a man because we need to apply the mirror modifier. So let's exit edit mode. Let's get rid of the subsurface for now. Let's apply the mirror. Tab back in. Unwrap. There we go. That looks better. Now, let's try to give us a little more room. Let's turn on stretch, and that's pretty good as far as for the angles. An area stretch, that's alright given the areas that it's stretching, with the exception of maybe the face. And what this means is the amount of distortion when it had to unwrap it, because with the face we're really squishing the front here. It's really not that bad. I mean, if it was in the red and stuff, then it would be much worse. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out because we've marked some seams, and then on the next lecture I'm going to add a little bit more geometry to try and improve this situation here, and then I'll rearrange these better. Alright, so I'm going to just get rid of this for now. Period on the number pad. 1. Switch to vertex select mode. Wireframe. Deselect. Drag this right down the center. Get rid of those vertices. We missed one here. I'm going to add our mirror modifier again. Turn clipping on, click that on. Shift space, give ourselves a little room, Z, shaded. Look at it from the side. There we go. Now, what I'd like to do is connect that up. And bring this up too, somewhere. So let me give myself some room. Get rid of those faces. And I'm going to add some here. This will even it out a bit. Bring these faces back. Well, not the same. They're not the same. And then this, we can bring something there. And there we go, and then we'll just even these out. In fact, maybe we can bring is in a little. Let's see, the center of the face is right about there. Let's bring back our subdivision surface. See how that's looking. I think that's looking good. Without modeling a whole face here. See if I can just I'm going to try seeing what smoothing will do, if it'll help some of these. Yeah, that evened them out a little. I'm just going to now tweak them. I'm zooming out a little bit so I can see these. I can get a sense of where the proportions of the face should be, like where the eye. I'm just switching between tablet and mouse. I'm back to my mouse. I had my tablet for a little bit. It's nice. This will suggest a face under the mask. I wonder how would this look if I did an inset and T. Let's not do the boundary. Inset. I feel like a optometrist. Better or worse? Better or worse? I think that, as far as, I think that's looking better. It needs to be flattened out a little bit, smoothed. Smooth shading on. That's good. Let's go back to flat so I can see better. Cool. Let's go ahead and remove the subsurface, apply the mirror. And bring back our UV window. T, N, select all, unwrap, and over here we'll hit N, bring this down, look at the stretch, the area stretch. I think the face has improved some. Let's do proportional scaling and see if we can manually improve it. Select down the center here. Let's go ahead and save it. Let's arrange the elements on the UV map to take better use of the space. I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to switch it to angle, black, smooth, just so these look, they're easier to look at. I'm going to turn off the selection sync. Select all then, because we can't move it while that's, we can't select individual ones while that's enabled. Shift space. Now what we'll do is we'll move the little pieces off to the side and figure out where the big pieces can go, and then the little pieces will be easy to slip in. L, Shift L. Oh, proportional editing is on. I'll hit O to turn that off. L, Shift L. Okay. I'm going to make the face a little bigger, just to get a little more resolution in the face. I'm going to click right there with our 2D cursor and hit period on the keyboard. Select this too and scale up from that point. A little bit more. And then just do Control comma to switch back to scaling from the median point. And then I'm going to click there and click that period again and scale up. Again, it's the period, not the number pad period. Notice it's now rotating from that point too. I try and scale up the elements that go together, like the front and back of the pants. Scale up the hands. I think I'd like to keep all these together. Circle select these. Scale them up a little. In this case, I'm going to scale from here. And obviously we could spend a lot of time doing this, but that's the general idea. So let's go ahead and save. In fact, before we save, I'm going to do Shift Space so that we're out of the viewing just that window. That way it won't be confusing later if you pop that one open and you're wondering where some of the controls are. Like, you know, when it's open, it's like, oh, I can't switch to different windows. That's because you're in that mode. So now let's save this image. We generated it inside Blender, but let's go ahead and do Save as Image and save it as an external image. I'm going to give it a 1 on the chance that we save iterations of the costume. I'm not sure that we will, but why not? Notice that the name inside Blender of this image we reference does not have to correspond with the external image. The external image you can see over here. So here, if you wanted to select it in Blender, it's just costume. But the actual source for it is costume1.png. Now we're not going to need this right now. Let's switch over to Texture Paint. And you'll see that where we deleted some faces, this guy's having an issue. It's like Blender did not include those here. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see there's the opening here. But it looks like it's fine here. What we need to do is while we're here, let's select these faces that don't have a UV map. In fact, let's do, just to make this easier, Alt-C, so we can see what we're selecting, and make it even a little easier by making our material shadeless. That'll help us with texture painting too. So we just select these, and then let's come over to the costume, and poof, they're back on again. We'll do the same for the other side. Poof is not a technical term. There we go. And our grid's looking nice. They're all around the same size. The face grid's a little smaller because we want the face to be a little higher resolution. The grid map is good for seeing these things. Now let's go ahead and start painting, because that's really the fun part, right? I'm going to bring in our hero image so that we can sample it. Oh, but I don't want it as the UV. Let's tab out of here, and I'm just going to switch over to the hero. In the paint window, when we're in paint in the UV, we can hit S and sample colors real easily. You can see that color changing. So I'm going to start with the pan, so I'm going to sample this purple color. And go into edit mode here. Turn off limit selection. And we'll select the pants. Then I'm going to get out of image or edit mode, turn on this button. What this button allows us to do is to paint just within what we've selected in edit mode. So now it's like a mask. I'm going to switch to my brush. So here we are painting in our map. And notice it's not doing 100%. That's because right now my strength over here is set to 0.7. I'm going to set it to 1. And I have pressure sensitivity turned on. I'm going to turn it off. I can just paint real easily. I'm not crazy about having this grid here. I'm going to hit N, and I could just turn off the grid under display. I could just click it off, and then I could also click off the X and Y. But I'm going to click only render, so only show me things that will render for now. And for areas that are difficult to hit, you just paint right on here. Don't worry about going outside the lines, because only the paint that's inside the line is going to show up. Shift space again. And now I'm going to, for his boots and gloves and mask, in the picture they look black, but what I want to do, I'm going to make them just a darker color of this bluish purple color. Not quite black. And I'm going to go in and edit, or I'm sorry, select. So I'll do shift space again. A to deselect. I'll grab those faces. Those. And now shift B, zoom in. C to circle select. Escape. Let's rotate around. Oh, that's good. In fact, his mask goes a little further down, so I'm just going to select those. And just right click and grab those. Tab out of there. Those are selected, so now I can just hit it with these colors. Control 1 to look at the back. Three to look at the side. Control 3 the other side. 7 looking down at it. Control 7 looking up. It's still easy to miss though, so we'll go Shift Space and then do Shift Space over here and take a look, see if our map's looking okay. If we want to, we can just paint over the hands. It looked like it was fine, but just to emphasize that we can do that. Alright, now let's grab his shirt. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to do here. Control I. And then B. And hold down the Alt key. Let's see. There we go. See, the Blender really makes it nice for even if you're working on a small screen. I'm going to Hero. I'm going to say, let's take sample maybe this magenta color. Oh, look at, we've got the lightning bolt on there. Let's make sure. Undo. We don't want to paint on there. There we go. So yeah, you can just rotate it around, paint too. You don't have to be really mechanical going all the sides, although that doesn't hurt. Sometimes it's good to know where you are. You don't have to. Alright, and if we want to turn that off, we could just free paint on here as well. Like, for example, S to sample. This is where shadeless comes in really handy. I can just paint right on there. Cover that up. S to sample there. And his shoes. If I want to make my brush smaller, I can hit F. Scale it down. There we go. There's a guy looking kind of cool. I'm going to just for looks, I'm going to put his subdivision surface on again. But not for this mode. Let's get some of these areas here. That's the sample. Get in the seams here. Let me look at my, I have a bleed, 2-pixel bleed, but sometimes that's not enough. So we're going to do something with a belt here, so I'm not too worried about spots like, oh, I am worried about that. But spots like that, if it does bother you, what we might want to do is switch the curve of our brush to a really hard brush, so it's like a harder circle. Get in there. Let's try selecting these faces. There we go. That's better. All right, that's pretty good. Let's take a break and then we'll add some more detail like his circle and his eyes in the next lesson. Oh, let's save. And make sure the image, now do save image.